chapter.
Hello and welcome back to Typical City. Top of the league we go, albeit probably and very likely for a small amount of time, but still, Erling Haaland has broken our rival. He's not broken, he's shattered our rival hearts, because that wasn't a great performance. Now, there's two ways to look at this from. As Manchester City fans, I think we're going to look at that from the spoiled way that we probably feel, me, myself included. I do feel a bit spoiled that the standard of football that we achieve now is so high that when a game like this crops up that was a little bit ugly for quite a big chunks of the first 2/3 of that game, it was like, this has got 0-0 written all over it. They are scrappy, horrible, and really difficult to break down, Everton. And it's no mistake that they are the fourth, maybe not anymore after conceding 2 today, but they were before this game the joint fourth best defence in the Premier League, yet they still find themselves in the relegation zone because of those 10-point deductions. But still, that had the hallmarks of that game. From a City fan point of view, you're frustrated at the 70th minute. You're like, why aren't we scoring? What's going wrong? Pep's made a lot of changes here. It's too many changes, I was saying. I'm thinking there's problems here. We've got to tweak it. We've got to make some more than tweaks, some big heart bypass surgery changes need to be made to that midfield to make something happen. And then we got our goal off Erling Haaland, what we've seen all last season and for a portion of this season as well. Erling Haaland's right place, right time, bang, makes it 1-0. And there was nothing fortunate or instinctual about his second goal either, because that was just fantastic number 9 play. From City's point of view, you're thinking, okay, maybe you could say, did we get away with that one a little bit, or not quite at our best? Look at it from our rivals' perspective. They're watching that thinking they're not playing well here. They're not playing well at all, Manchester City. They're dominating the ball, fair enough, yeah, as they always do. They're not creating anything. They're not creating anything at all. And that man, the man that lives rent-free in their heads, who has haunted them and given them sleepless night after sleepless night, Erling Haaland just crops up out of nowhere and kablamo makes it 1-0 out of absolutely nothing. Totally not against the run of play, because we were by far the better team, but it wasn't against the run of play of chance creation. Do you know what I mean? We weren't banging in 20-odd shots against Pickford. You know, I think at one point we had 11 shots with 0 on target. So quiet day at the office for Jordan Pickford until he's got to pick the ball out of the back of his net twice from Erling Haaland. And they'll know, our rivals, they'll know what that does to momentum. 10 wins in a row, of course. You know, undefeated in 32 home games with Arsenal, who've got to come here. Liverpool, we've got to go away to them, of course. But we've gone top of the league, and it's no mistaking that it's all thanks to Erling Haaland, the man who we haven't said very often this season. That name is something that I would like to have said a lot more frequently this season, and I haven't said his name very often because he's been injured. And that was meant to be a small injury, that foot injury. He could be back in a week or two, or maybe another couple of weeks. Before you know it, he's out for 3 months. And this Manchester City side is why we're breaking hearts, because we've had Kevin De Bruyne out for 5 months. Erling Haaland out for 3 months. Our 2 best players out for a combined 8 months, and we're top of the league. What have you done, Liverpool? What have you done, Arsenal? You had your chance. We were pissing off. We weren't in the country for 3 weeks. We were pissing about at the FIFA Club World Cup, winning trophies you can only dream of. And we're out there doing that. You had an opportunity to get a 9-point lead. You could have gone miles ahead of us. But you fucked it up by playing each other. That was the hilarious factor, the perfect timing of fixtures, with the fact that while we're away, Liverpool and Arsenal played each other and they drew. You can't you've got to laugh at them, haven't you? Hey, fucking unbelievable. Perfect result. Ideal. Very ideal for Manchester City. And here we are. We're probably not going to be top at the end of the day. I'll give that, because I think Burnley are looking very sloppy right now. I imagine Liverpool to wipe the floor with them, in truth, and go back top of the league. But still, you know the statement that's just been sent by winning the game. An ugly game, not the prettiest Manchester City performance you're ever going to see. One of the worst, actually, for the first 70 minutes this season. Not the worst, but up there. It was up there as a bit of a damp squib performance. And I think Pep needs to take a little bit on the chin for that one, because he was really aggressive with his changes, a little bit too much. Now, going to talk about it in a little bit of a pragmatic point of view. Not negative, pragmatic. You know, I don't want to be all doom and gloom because we've won the game. But there were problems in that first half. Like, there were problems with our ability to create chances, non-existent. You need to give credit to Everton's shape. They were assured, and their shape was brilliant. They moved across the pitch really well. The tactical plan to play John Stones and Manuel Akanji alongside Rodri for the first 20 minutes, he scrapped it pretty early because it wasn't working. Pep tried it, and fair play to Pep. You know, the greatest geniuses of all time know to admit when they're wrong. That's what geniuses do. They know when they're wrong and they know when they're right. And he was wrong. And he got it wrong, and he changed it quickly because he had John Stones and Manuel Akanji either side of Rodri, with only two players as our springboard to pass out from the back, with Nathan Ake and Ruben Diaz. The idea was to create a cluster of midfield. You could see it working to an extent, but Everton's shape sort of was counterproductive to what we were trying to do, with creating a lot of space for Phil Foden because the midfield was so narrow, and the same for Jeremy Doku. Both those players in the first half had an abundance amount of space, but when the ball got over to them, Everton got closer to Foden or to Doku, whichever way the ball went, quicker than we were able to get to them. So we couldn't nullify, or we couldn't counteract their shape and make the most of these opportunities where Doku's got space, Foden's got space, because our midfielders were so far away from them by the time the ball got to Foden that there was no ability to create triangles. Foden was on his own. More often than not, he had Mykolenko coming over and Dwight McNeil. He was double teamed. Same for Jeremy Doku. Ashley Young getting back to help Ben Godfrey against Jeremy Doku in that first half, and it just wasn't working. Then what baffled me even more from Pep Guardiola was, okay, go back to having three at the back and we don't need to cluster that midfield quite as much, and instead let's try and stretch it with the back three instead. He put John Stones as part of the back three and left Akanji in midfield. I love Manuel Akanji. I absolutely adore the guy. I think he's a fantastic player and an absolute bargain of the century at 15 million. Bargain. But he had a bad day at the office, mate. Really bad day. That first half in particular, the amount of passes that he was putting astray, really sluggish, looked rusty. He was about 4 or 5 times he gave the ball away and giving Calvert-Lewin the opportunity. And I thought Calvert-Lewin was wasteful with opportunities when he got the ball with either the option to find Jack Harrison or take the chance. He tried that little chip, didn't he? That was from Manuel Akanji giving the ball away. That chip was pathetic from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and luckily we got away with it. Too many times I could say that today, that we got away with it from sloppy passes in the first half. And thankfully we've not been punished for it. And a clean sheet is another positive to take away from today, because I think we kept a clean sheet through not world-class defending, just because the Everton came for a draw. They got what they deserved, really, with their attitude towards the game, which was nothing. Nothing. They didn't deserve anything from this game. But that's not through tenacious defending or brilliant last-ditch efforts in the defensive department from Manchester City. Everton just didn't offer anything to threaten us the other way. They were very assured at the back until I think Kyle Walker came on, and that started to split them open a little bit. We were getting players in closer to Phil Foden. Phil Foden, then we did what we've been doing for the majority of the season, started to play a little bit more centrally. The introduction of Kevin De Bruyne, it felt like you should have just started with that, Pep, and played Kevin De Bruyne for 50, 60 minutes and then take him off once the game's won, rather than relying on bringing on Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and pushing Phil Foden central to win the game. I felt like start the game strong and then you can sort of see it out at the end. Instead, we had to make some pretty aggressive substitutions, which was very unlike Pep to get it wrong that badly, in my opinion. But again, the guy just knows. He changed it and he won the game with his substitutions, making the right calls at the right time, tweaking players here and there. Eventually, Pep got it right, got us the 3 points. But I'd say it was more Erling Haaland getting it right than Pep Guardiola today. I just felt like the ball was luckily landing his way. And the last person in the world, if you're an Everton fan or player, you want that ball to land to as the ball's ricocheting in the middle of the box is Erling Haaland. And it was an instinctual finish. Just an absolute rocket, mate. Absolute rocket with his weaker foot. It's just like he picked up a sledgehammer and just went bang with it, didn't he? Just this catapult just flew off his right boot. Pickford gets a big hand to it, in fairness to him, but there's no stopping it. He's lucky he didn't break his arm or send his arm backwards, and into the roof of the net it goes. There's debate over whether it was a corner or not. Couldn't give two shits. Oh well, cry more. As for the second goal, we were actually fending off Everton for a little bit. For the one moment in that entire game, which was probably about a 5-minute spell after we go 1-0 up, Everton started to come forward a little bit. Not really creating chances, mind you, but there was still that threat there. Beto gets an offside goal. Talk about Jack Grealish's introduction in a minute, by the way, because that wasn't the glamorous substitute appearance from Jack Grealish, which nearly gifted Everton an equaliser for Beto. Thankfully, he was offside. But that was the only real opportunity. He was miles offside as well. But other than that, there was a couple of dangerous passes from Everton that looked like maybe they could do something. But because they came forward, the gaps appeared at the other end of the pitch, and Kevin De Bruyne picks up the ball after Nathan Ake, a good bit of defensive play from Ake, feeds it into Kevin De Bruyne, turns. The best picture in the world for Kevin De Bruyne is 80 yards of football pitch and Erling Haaland sprinting away from him. It's like a dream image for Kevin De Bruyne, and he's like, boop, passes that ball, threads it right into the path of Erling Haaland. Jared Branthwaite thinks he's been doing weights at training and lifting enough weights. He's not strong enough, mate. There's not many defenders in the world that are strong enough to fend off Erling Haaland. And he bodies him, and he ends up sliding on his hands and knees, Jared Branthwaite, and watches and pleads that the man who's just bodied him doesn't put it into the bottom corner. And it was inevitable. He puts it into the bottom corner and he makes it 2-0. Game done and dusted. Manchester City go top of the league. Comfortable as that. But make no mistake, there were some glaringly bad things from the game from a Manchester City perspective. I think Alvarez was really sloppy today. Didn't have his greatest performance against Brentford, but at least he got 5 shots to his name against Brentford. At least he was getting in those positions to have shots, but his touch was off. There was a moment in the second half where Kevin De Bruyne feeds it to Alvarez on the edge of the box. It just needs a good first touch and bang, you get your shot away, Alvarez. But his touch runs away from him about 4 yards, like really sloppy. I thought Doku was really effective, but only in getting us into dangerous areas. Again, it's all about the end product for Jeremy Doku. He needs to... There was a cross in the first half which Haaland got on the end of and headed it over the bar. Other than that, Doku's crossing was a little bit more hit and hope rather than see a man, find a man. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit hopeful when he starts to swing a foot at it and hope that it finds a City shirt. He needs to be a little bit more sure with that. But there's no one in the world like him at beating his fullback. Getting us into those positions is just frightening. And if he can just get that cross right, Jesus Christ, what a player he'll be. What a player he'll be. And I hope we don't have a career of just like the maybes and what ifs and with Jeremy Doku. How close he is to being a worldie of a player, but so close yet so far with his end product. So young as well, 21 years old. He will get there, in my opinion. If you stay at Manchester City with Pep Guardiola's tutelage, he will teach you. He will teach you, and you have to spend hours and hours and hours on that training pitch learning and refining your ability to cross the ball, and he'll get there. He'll absolutely get there. As for Jack Grealish, who came on, he won a foul. That's a lot of what people celebrate. I've never been a big fan of that. Yeah, winning fouls gets us set pieces, and yeah, we're dangerous from set pieces, I'll grant you that. But he came on and he got a warning, Jack Grealish, on the halfway line. He got a warning. I think it was James Garner, I can't remember, a slide tackle on Jack Grealish. He gives the ball away and it goes straight to Rodri. No problem, because Rodri picked up the loose pieces. No problem there. A couple of minutes later, he's giving the ball. A sane person slide tackles him on the edge of the box this time, and Beto goes through after Dwight McNeil, I think it was, or Jack Harrison feeds him through, and it was an offside goal. Thankfully got away with that. But, I mean, that was rust in Jack Grealish's substitute appearance. But he came on after that, and he kept the ball like he usually does, and he found Bernardo Silva a couple of times. And we needed that from Jack Grealish in that moment. Just keep the ball, mate. Keep the ball. We're winning the game 2-0 now. Don't give it away, mate. You've come on to keep the ball, and he gave the ball away within 2 minutes. Twice. And gave them an offside goal. So, warning signs for Jack Grealish there. Hopefully he can play a big part in the second half of the season, because there is going to be moments where we need him, where we need a player to retain the ball better than Doku can, because Doku's aggressive and he'll get us into positions, but he'll give the ball away, Doku. That's his game. Grealish should not be giving the ball away to that extent. And I don't want to get too harsh on Jack Grealish either, but I do feel like he's a hot topic for Manchester City fans right now. So it's worth talking about because of the second half of the season. We're going to need him. We absolutely need him. And when I say we need him to be the typical Jack Grealish that keeps that ball and builds triangles really well in the corner of the pitch. Not the Doku at times. We don't need that all the time. But we can't have Jack Grealish coming on and doing what he did. Treble Blues, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated, mate. Love your content. Love your enthusiasm. Come on, City. Top man. Top man. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. But yeah, it's been a really good day at the office from a Manchester City point of view. It's because we've gone top of the league. But there is huge question marks over that first half performance. The fact that opposition teams will have seen how close Everton got to not conceding a goal. If it wasn't for Erling Haaland and that ricocheting, bobbling around in the 6-yard box, if it wasn't for Erling Haaland's instinctual goal, it could have been a different afternoon for Manchester City fans. It really could have been. And other teams that can play that way and play like Everton played will have seen how successful they were for the first 2/3 of the game. They'll know that, yeah, Erling Haaland's on the pitch, so if it lands to him in the 6-yard box, good night, nurse. Sorry, nothing you can do about that. Erling Haaland's going to put it in the back of the net. That's it, done and dusted. But they showed how to defend against City, keep us quiet, prevent us from creating chances. And that's a worrying sign. I hope Pep has a little bit more, goes into the Premier League games not being so forthright with his changes like that. I know we've got Copenhagen Tuesday night. I'm doing a watch-along for that, so come and join me for that. It's going to be a really important game for Manchester City's Champions League campaign, for momentum as well. Not just for momentum in that particular competition, but getting 11 wins in a row would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic, because the juggernaut, the Pistons are firing. They're firing in the juggernaut, aren't they? We've got 10 wins in a row now. Can we make it 11 against Copenhagen? I imagine the players that we didn't see start today would likely start against Copenhagen. Could we see a Jack Grealish start? Kevin De Bruyne would likely start. Question marks over whether Alvarez should start. I think Nunes had a really sloppy game, and I've been a really big fan of him so far in recent games. The question marks over Nunes was the games he's played really well in has been against opposition that has been a little bit subpar, like not great, like a bit, FIFA Club World Cup, he was brilliant in then. Against Huddersfield in the FA Cup, he was brilliant. But they're lesser opposition. Today he was given an opportunity to start against Premier League opposition, and I felt he was off. He didn't feel quite right. He couldn't get involved in the game. Pep tried to do a little bit, use him on the right wing a little bit for a small spell in that second half. Didn't really work. I don't have a problem with that either, because I've seen the way he can carry a ball, Nunes. His speed was something I never expected to see from him when he signed for Manchester City. He's very, very quick. But his ability down that right wing is something I wouldn't mind seeing again, because I think he can carry that ball. And we saw him cross that ball for Alvarez's header. Can't remember who it was against. Was it Burnley? Can't remember. But his tenacity was there. But today, not a great performance from Matheus Nunes. But I thought Ruben Dias did really well handling Calvert-Lewin, who is a real difficult customer to deal with, especially with those long balls, because he can leap, man. That guy should be in the NBA, mate. He should not be playing in the Premier League. How high he can jump is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And Ruben Dias won a fair few. Didn't win them all, but he was in a battle. But there was no threat from Calvert-Lewin today. And I think Ruben Dias did well in regards to that. I thought Nathan Ake was okay, and John Stones was okay. Not much to speak about with regards to Everton. Edison, sorry, not Everton. Edison. But player ratings tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me in the chat as well. I'm so terrible at these match reactions with regards to speaking to you guys on this chat. But it's good to see you. Sub 2, Cortez, Big M, Timmy as well, Cupid, Matt Galaxy, Maynak, Anthony, all in the chat as well. Douglas Wright, Ethan. We've got Danny W up there, Anthony Taylor, the Anthony Taylor. I hope that's not the Anthony Taylor, but you're a terrible referee if it is you. Hope you're good, mate. Nadir's in there as well. Tuganayezu, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Clara as well. Ryan was in here nice and early. Brilliant. If you could drop a like on your way out of the stream. 3 points was all that was really needed today, Blues. We got what the doctor ordered. Absolutely, that's not a phrase that makes much sense, but I said it. Words came out of my mouth. Said it now. I can't take it back. So we have gone top of the Premier League, and I'm buzzing about that. But there is still, I've got a little one eye on that Copenhagen performance. I have a feeling we could do, if we play the players that I wanted to play today, I feel like we'll beat Copenhagen. But that's not going to be an easy game. We drew there last season, don't forget, in the group stages. Or was it the group stages? I can't remember. But I remember we drew, I think it was 1-1 at Copenhagen last season. So it's not an easy place to go. But we'll see. And it's a case of momentum now, isn't it? Can we continue this form? We've sent a massive statement out to the rest of the Premier League by going top of the Premier League. I'll be tuning into the Liverpool game after this as well. Won't be surprised if they're already 1-0 up, to be honest. But thank you so much once again for joining me in the match reaction. It's brilliant, as well as some familiar faces that were in the watch along as well. Buzzing, absolutely buzzing. Haaland breaking hearts once again. Oh, it's fantastic news. Top of the league we go. Blues, come and join me for the player ratings tomorrow morning. I'll try and get that out as quick as possible. There's going to be some really mixed ratings in there, to be honest. Some semi-decent performances, somewhat decent performances, as well as a few stinkers in there as well. So it'll be interesting to see the numbers, as well as watching the game back, as how well did everyone actually do, and have a good look at it in a little bit more detail. So come and join me for that. Once again, thank you so much. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend if I don't see you tomorrow. Have a good one, everyone. Top of the league, Blues. Let's do it. We're getting a 4-peat. Come on. We're doing it. See you in the next one.